Hey there, Mr. Maestas here. How you doing? And today in this one, I'm going to go over matrices. Matrices. Forgot my S. So this is matrices are plural for a matrix, and so I figure I should have brought my sunglasses and my Neo outfit like the Matrix. We're going into the Matrix. So I'm gonna talk to you just about matrix, what a matrix is, matrices, and their properties, and then also how to do some operations. We want to be able to multiply, add, subtract, and then later on there are some other things that we can do with a matrix, and those will be on other videos though for later on. For this one, I'm hoping for is that we can get through how to add, subtract, and multiply matrices. So it's kind of a lot. So we're going to get through as much as possible here, and maybe some practice problems. So let's talk about what a matrix is. Now, a matrix is just a way of organizing different information. Sometimes we'll have a table of a bunch of values for something, and we want to put it into a nice, clean, compact, numerical organizational system, and that's called a matrix. So what we're going to do is we'll look at the matrix. This is what it looks like. So a matrix is, we usually use big brackets, and each part of a matrix is called a cell. So I'm going to use numbers here just for an example. So we'll use a 3, -2, 4, and 5. So each of these is a cell in my matrix. The matrix is broken up into columns and rows. So columns go down this way. So these are the columns, and these are the rows. Okay, so rows go like this, columns go like this. Now, if I was to talk about the dimensions of this matrix, the dimensions of a matrix are by its rows, by columns. So in this example here, we've got a 2 by 2 matrix. So I would say that the dimensions of this matrix, we'll call this matrix A, because we just like to call them capital letters. So this matrix A has dimensions 2 by 2, where 2 are the number of rows and 2 is the number of columns. So an example of that, something that might look different, would be something like 3, 2, 1, 4, 6, 5. Okay, so that's another matrix. So why don't you take a guess at what the dimensions of this matrix are? We'll call this matrix M for Maestas. So what do you think the dimensions are? There are 3 rows by 2 columns. All right, so that's it for dimensions of how we find the dimensions of a matrix. So something interesting about matrices, when we add matrices, we must have the same columns and rows in 2 matrices in order to add them. So we could not add this matrix plus this matrix because this one has more rows than this one does. So we'd have to have the exact same number of matrices, or of rows and columns. Okay? So let me erase the board, and then we'll do some operations, adding and subtracting. All right, adding and subtracting. So let's take a look. And you know what? Adding and subtracting matrices are really, really easy. You just have to remember that you are dealing with two matrices that have the exact same rows and columns. And then all you're going to do is add the 2 cells. So add the matching cells. So here we got 3 and 2, so I'm going to add those 2 because they're on the same spot in my matrix. So 3 plus 2 is 5. Put it in the same spot. -2 and 6. 6 and -2 is 4. So that goes right there. And then 1 and 7 is 8. 4 and -1 is 3. And that is my sum. That's it. That's all there is to it, guys. So try these 2 practice ones, and then I will put the answer to that. So let's look at this one. So 1 minus -2 is going to be 3. 4 minus 1 is 3. 3 minus 5 is -2. 2 minus 3 is -1. 1 minus 2 is 1. 5 minus 4 is 1. That's it. That's all there is to it. Yes, that simple. So here we go. 2 plus 4. 6. X plus 2x, 3x. 3y plus y, 4y. That's simple, guys. Really is. All right. So adding and subtracting, pretty simple. So the other thing we have here is if we have something called a scalar. So what is a scalar, you ask? It's scalar. What is a scalar? A scalar is something that's, is it AR? Scalar is something that's not a matrix. So a number that's not a matrix. So multiplying a scalar would be like saying if we had 4 times 3, 2, 1 in a matrix. Now take a second to think about what you think you would do. Yeah, I think you figured out it's that easy. We're just going to multiply that 4 times each of those spots in that matrix. And that's our answer. Yeah, that's simple, guys. It's that simple. Just multiply it by each of them. It's like the distributive property. Let's say we had something that had 3 and we had multiple things in here. Then we would just multiply that 3 into every single cell. 9, 3, 12, negative 3, 6, 3, and that would be our answer. Okay, where does this have some sort of application? Let's say we had this and this was all maybe like the items at a movie theater. You know, this was our popcorn, this was, you know, these are like, this would be menu 1, menu 2, menu 3. And then we would multiply it by the number of things that we get for that in that popcorn, so or in that movie theater. So you know, it's just an organized way, and this would be our multiple of that. Okay, so that's scalar multiplication. We can put it all together. We can multiply in and then add another matrix. We can do all those operations together, and it's that simple. What's not simple is multiplication. So I'll erase the board, and we'll come back, and I'll show you how to do multiplication. Okay, here we go, multiplying matrices. So a couple things that you need to make sure you remember when you're multiplying matrices. You need to remember that what you're doing is you're doing row times column. So row times column and then add, and I'll show you what that looks like. Then you got to remember that the dimensions, the column and the rows must match up or else you cannot do this. So make sure that you are matching them. What I mean by that is, let's say we had a matrix that was 3 by 2. We need to multiply it by a matrix that was 2 by 4 so that the column of this one matches the row of that one. These two match up, then your product is going to be 3 by 4 after you're done with it. So it's going to end up being the outsides of what you had before. If these two did not match up, you would not be able to multiply these matrices. So let's look at an example. So I'm going to go row, column, row, column. This is how it's going to work. Okay? I need to have some space here. I'm going to take this row, 2, 3, and I'm going to multiply it by this column. Okay, this row times this column. So I'm going to do 2 times negative 1 plus 3 times 2. So I'm taking that row times that column. 3 times 2. And that goes in this first space here. I'm going to do that for each one of these columns, okay? So 2 times 3 plus 3 times 1. 2 times 4 plus 3 times 3. That's going to give me my matrix here. Now I'm going to do this one, row times column. Row times column, row times column, row times column. Okay, so row times column, we're going to do 1 times negative 1. Plus 4 times 2. And then this row times this column. So 1 times 3. Plus 4 times 1. And then this row times this column. 1 times 4 plus 4 times 3. Okay? Alright. And then we're just going to evaluate that out. So we get negative 2 plus 6 is 4. We got 4 plus 3 is 7. 8 plus 9 is 17. Negative 1 plus 6 is 5. 3 plus 4 is 7. And 4 plus 12 is 16. Okay, and this is our new matrix. Notice here we had a 2 by 2 matrix and a 2 by 3 matrix. So I should end up with a 2 by 3 matrix, which is what I got, 2 rows, 3 columns, okay? So I'm going to put another one up here for you to practice, and then that's it. I'm done. That'll be the end of the video. So I'll put another one up here for practice, and then I'll work it out for you, okay? So let's just go and erase it right now. So we'll do this one. We got 2 by 2 and a 2 by 1. So this will be a practice, so try it out right now, and I will step away and then come back and solve it. Came back and solved it pretty quick, huh? Pretty step away. You should have tried and paused it there. So let's go and try this out. So we're going to go row, column. So row, column. So this row, so it's 3 times negative 3 plus negative 2 times 1. Okay, so that's our first one. Row, column. Then we're going to go row, column. So it looks like we're going to end up with a 2 by 1, right? Okay, so that's pretty much all we have there. So row, column, 1 times negative 3 plus 4 times 1, which ends up with, we've got negative 9 minus 2, which is going to give me negative 11, and negative 3 plus 4, which is 1. And that's our answer, okay? So remember row, column, and add them up together, okay? And that's it. Later.